Hello, welcome to Geeking Out with Shad. I just recently got my GoPro Hero 11 Mini, and I've only used it once so far, but I want to talk a little bit about what makes this so much more special than this, which is the GoPro Hero 11 Black. And I'll explain the differences between the two. And I want to show you some cool things about this that has kind of made it like a little bit of a game changer for me. So if you don't know, I have another channel called Shad Life where I do a lot of biking, and there's some BMX, mountain biking, fat biking, all kinds of biking over there. So if you are into biking at all, you might as well go check that channel out. I will make sure I link that in the description. So I use GoPros a lot, and I also use a 360 camera. It's a Insta360 1RS. I have a couple of videos where I have actually showing you what I can do with those cameras, and I'll continue doing this kind of stuff on this channel here and there. Definitely not as popular as me talking about my Bolt EUV and EVs in general, but that makes sense to me because that's a much wider audience of people versus, what do they call these? Action cameras, right? So yeah, let's get to it. Got to make sure I have my coffee. So I'll tell you about the problem. And so this is the Hero 11 Black, and I have everything from the Hero 6, 7. I mean, I pretty much have every version. I believe I skipped the Hero 11 because I didn't see a huge jump from the 9, or not 11, sorry, the Hero 10. The jump from 9 to 10 wasn't that much, but the 11 really has some better processing and just a lot more quality footage and things. So to me, it was worth it to get it. So there's different ways I mount my GoPro, and one of them is I wear this chest mount, and you might have seen this in videos if you watch a lot of YouTube. And so what I do is I take my GoPro and I mount it on the chest mount, and the mount is on the bottom. So before the Hero 8, I believe it was, you had to have a case around your GoPro. It's just a little plastic thing that your GoPro would slide into, and then it would close, and then it had tabs on the bottom so you could mount it. But starting with the 8, they actually started doing these built-in tabs. I'm thinking it was the 8. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the built-in tabs are really nice because now the GoPro, you don't have to have that extra piece that goes around the GoPro. So it gets mounted to my chest, and the little tabs are on the bottom. On the back is a screen so I can see what I'm doing if I'm hand holding it and filming, right? Or if I want to check to see if it's pointing in the right direction. Sometimes I put it in a tripod, and then I will film either me riding, or I'll film me working on something in my work stand or something like that. I do all kinds of stuff on that channel. So it's pretty handy, and the quality that these Hero 11 puts out is pretty amazing. So I'm not going to talk about specs because that's out there. If you want to know about specs, you just go to the GoPro site, see it, or watch YouTube channels. This is more about the comparison between these two cameras. So size-wise, the Mini is a little bit narrower, but that's really about it. Width-wise, they are pretty much the same, right? I'd almost say the Mini's a little thicker, and height-wise, they're pretty much the same. The Mini looks like it's just a tad bit taller, but very minimal. So what really makes this camera special, and I'm going to show you that, is you have the tabs on the bottom, same as on the regular GoPro, right? But there is no screen on the back. And what makes this camera so awesome is these two tabs on the back. It's kind of one of these things where it's like, why is that such a big deal? Well, I will explain why that's such a big deal. So, for chest mount, it really doesn't matter. Like, this GoPro is like fine, right? The only thing I would say is for tipping it back, it does bump against it rests against the mount, so it can only go back so far. And if I flip it upside down, I can do that, because if you flip a GoPro upside down, it'll automatically adjust. Then I have it hanging way down here, and it's doing like this, and it tends to be weighted off the pad. And I see people that mount it upside down and they're riding their bike and stuff, and you'll notice it's really jerky and bouncy even with stabilization. So I don't like to do that, so I do like it this way. How I had to solve that problem is I actually got a longer mount, and I'll compare it to one of the standard ones here. Oh yeah, here's one on my helmet. If you look at this mount, which can just clip in and clip out, see how close it is? And on here, I got one that sticks out a little ways. So you can definitely see that because this mount goes out a ways, I can angle the GoPro back, and it's just enough for me to have chest footage and allow you to see the handlebars and then go down the trail. With this camera, because I have the mount on the back, I can mount it from the back, and I can go long range. I can go any one of these angles. And so because when I'm on my chest and I'm leaning forward on my bike, I want it angled up some, so I can actually angle it up even more because I have all that clearance. So I can get it just perfect. So this rear mount makes a big difference in that sense, right? Now if we go to helmets, we'll take my regular helmet. The one I just showed you is my winter helmet. You'll notice I have a mount here and I have a mount on the top. Well, the mount on the front is pretty much ideal because it's closer to where I actually look with my eyes, and when I turn my head, it'll look where I'm looking and stuff like that, which makes for better footage. The chest footage is pretty cool if you want to see the handlebars a lot and stuff. You can still see the handlebars with this mount. For me, that's important because if you can't see the handlebars, the bike, the front wheel at all, and you're watching me go down the trail, all you see is me going down a trail. You have no idea what I'm on. I could be walking for all you know, or running, or on a unicycle, right? So for me, it's important to show a little bit of the handlebars and the bike in the lower part of the shot. So I use a super wide view for that. But what I used to have to do, because I don't want, like, I could mount this on here down or whatever, but then it's like right in front of my face and I need to be able to see the trail. So I made it so my visor can go way up and I can get this GoPro up in there, right? Which works. Or what I've done is I have all these extra linkages and I will set it up so the GoPro sits in there the way I want it to. But I no longer have to do that. With this GoPro, I can literally mount it on the back of the GoPro, and I have all that motion, and I can put my visor back down where it should be, and I have all that motion for the camera. So I'm going to mount that really quick and show you, because this is really the main reason why I'm pretty stoked on this camera. Okay, so now it's mounted on there. I didn't crank it really tight yet because I want to be able to turn it, but see how much motion I have there. And that's important because when I put it on my head, and I'm going to crank this helmet tight, one of the things, it's not a lot lighter than the other GoPro, but it's a little bit lighter, so it's less like pulling down on the front of my helmet, which I like, and I don't have to crank the back of the helmet as tight. If you don't know about a lot of modern helmets, there's a little dial, and it tightens it on your head for better stability. It's also got a thing called MIPS, which allows the helmet to turn and move. Like if you have an impact, it doesn't twist your neck and all that stuff. So helmets have gotten really advanced. So what's cool about this is when I look this way, I can set it up to point exactly where my eyes are, and I can still get my finger up in here and push the button. So listen for the sound, because what's cool about GoPros is you don't really need to look at anything to know that it's on. It'll do a beep sequence that lets me know it's on. So here's the on beep sequence. Okay, so it's just those quick 3 beeps. Now the off one is very significant, so it's really easy to know whether your GoPro is on or off. So I know it's on, and then when I go to hit it, now it's off. So I don't even need to power, wrong way, I don't even need to turn the main GoPro power on, which when you turn that on, it allows you to do the settings and get it in the view you want and all that stuff. And on this GoPro, when you turn it on, the screen turns on. You can see through the front screen. You can do all the settings, things like that. But after a certain amount of time, the screens go to sleep on this, and that's just to save battery. So if I'm running on my chest, I'm not looking at the screens. If I'm doing, like video, like where I'm filming, I have to touch the screen every once in a while to make sure it stays on, or it'll go to sleep, and then I have to touch and wake it up so I can see what I'm aiming at and stuff. Not a huge deal, but and I could go in there and set the settings so it doesn't do that, but then I have to remember to always go back. Otherwise I drain the battery. So what's cool about this one is it's dedicated, no screens or anything, so it's really good for POV footage. POV is point of view. And so I really like it. It's lighter. It doesn't have as much drag. Like if I'm on, here's the goofy part of my channel, is I'm going to simulate me being on the bike and going over jumps. So with this camera, my helmet would always come down on my eyes because there's so much weight in the front. This one, I can actually get it to where, I'm over exaggerating how bumpy it is, because of course I have suspension on my mountain bike and stuff, so it's not quite that bumpy. But yeah, your helmet will, like, or on a hard landing sometimes I'll have my helmet come down. And this is also visually not obstructing my vision that much, so it doesn't bother me when I'm riding and stuff like that. So yeah, this mount on the back is really a neat little game changer for the GoPro, and because all I'm doing is point of view shooting, I get it set the way I want it to be set. I can sync it to my phone and look at it on the phone screen, what it sees, so I can get it adjusted exactly where I want it, just leave it there, and then go do my ride and turn it on and off when I want to. So super cool. So let's talk about a couple of other features about the Hero 11 Mini. Look at that. Now I have helmet hair. Nice. Get some more coffee. So the Hero 11 Mini, mount on the bottom, so I can do the traditional way. Mount on the back, which is the game changer. Like, so awesome. Allows for so much more flexibility. The only screen you have is this little one here, and it tells you what view you're in, and you can push the buttons and configure it and stuff. I'm not going to show that part. There's plenty of videos on that, but yeah, you can set it here with the camera for me, I actually prefer to sync it with my phone and just get it set in my phone. It's just so much easier. And with the regular GoPro, it's really easy because you actually have a screen and you have. So the big advantage of this one is with just the camera, it's so much easier to swipe and do settings with the little touch screen back here, and set all the options. So that is the true power of this. So there is an advantage to having a GoPro like this. Plus it has the front screen, which you can look into if you're doing vlog stuff, make sure you're in the shot, things like that. Again, it does time out, which is kind of interesting. So so back to this one. One of the things I really like about this, the battery is built in, and that can be a negative or a positive. It really depends on how much shooting you're going to be doing. If you're doing long, I never do this, but you know, I guess there's probably people out there, let's just say they're going to do a mountain bike ride, and they turn their GoPro on at the beginning of the ride, and they go do their entire ride and film every single thing, and then they shut their GoPro off. I never do that. Like, I have no interest in watching myself, and I'm sure nobody else out there in the world has an interest in watching me ride single track mountain bike trail for an hour straight, just all the boring stuff, because there's a whole lot of just pedaling and riding and climbing and all this stuff in mountain biking just to get to the good stuff. So what I do, and I showed you that earlier, is when I get to the stuff I want to film or the more interesting stuff, I push that button, hear the 3 beeps, do my thing, ride over the wooden feature, the skinny, do the jump, ride the big berm or whatever, right? Like, I do that stuff. Oh, and then when I'm done with the fun bits or riding the technical rock section or whatever, then I click it, turn it off. The other time I'll leave it on is if I'm talking about something. Sometimes I give like instruction on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, or I talk about the component that I'm testing because I test parts. So I'll talk about the tire that I'm testing or whatever, right? So I do that, but I don't just turn it on and leave it on the whole ride. And you know, rides can take a couple hours. They could take 2-3 hours, right? So battery life is a big deal. And I don't know what the battery life is on this. I'll put what GoPro says it is, but I haven't fully tested it myself to know how long the battery is. I know on this GoPro, the battery life is about an hour. I might get maybe a little more than an hour. And on this one, the battery is removable. So what's kind of nice is if I run out of battery and I have a spare fully charged one, I just swap the batteries and keep filming. Doesn't happen to me very often that I have to swap batteries or that I need an extra battery. And I do believe, because this one doesn't have the screens and the other stuff, it doesn't drain the battery as much. So I think the battery lasts a little longer than on this one. So the battery's built in. That was a whole lot of info just to talk about the battery being built in. Here's the Type-C port, and then the memory card also goes in there. So that's really it. What I do like about this is I actually like the little trap door feature on this one better than other GoPros. It's just a little push down and it pops open. These GoPros, you have to pull this down on the bottom and you open up the side. This actually can pop off, so if you're doing vlogging and stuff, sometimes you plug a microphone, stuff like that in there. It's okay, but what happens is when this is mounted and I have that mount screw right there, this can be in the way with the mount screw, so I have to unscrew it and get at it and stuff like that, as to where this won't have that issue. So kind of a minor thing. So really, as far as capabilities, they're identical from everything I know. I don't know 100%, but I think this has all the same filming capabilities as this one. It just doesn't have the screen and all of that. So GoPro used to make a camera called the Session, so I think this is their answer to bringing that back. This has a little bit more usability than the Session because of this mount on the back. So I'm really excited about it, and one of the biggest reasons why I'm glad to be able to mount the GoPro here instead of down here, especially in the summer months when it's hot out, is I'll be riding and I'll be sweating, and I'll literally have my camera and I'll sweat all over the lens and ruin my footage. And I won't even notice it because I'm too focused on riding. I'll be turning my camera on and off or whatever. I've learned to kind of check it every now and then I carry a wipe with me. But if I forget to check it, or I'm too focused, or it happens in the middle of a section of trail, then it adds blurry crap in the footage, and then that footage is ruined, and I usually don't realize it until I'm in editing mode and I can't do anything about it. So I'm excited to get my GoPro away from here and onto my head, where it'll also point where I'm looking, which is another neat thing. If it's on my chest, it's always going to point where, you know, I'm kind of riding my bike. If it's on my head and I go look at, like, sometimes we do these big climbs and then there's an overlook and we're overlooking a lake and some hills and some pretty sweet stuff, I'll turn my head and look at the overlook, and then everybody else can see what I see, right? So it's pretty big deal for a creator like myself who wants to kind of enhance their footage and improve their footage. So there you have it. I am going to end this video with a quick clip of me riding in the snow on my fat bike with some buddies. With this, it was the first time I actually used it, and I had it mounted on my winter cold weather helmet right here. And of course I got my light, and again, kind of cool because it's mounted here and I have my light aimed and this aimed, and so wherever I'm looking, it's always going to be lighting where I'm looking and where the camera's pointing. I mean, it's pretty sweet. So check out this footage in the snow, night riding. It's pretty sweet. I really appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.